Where's the feelings? I think things are looking up, but looking for some outside opinions to confirm that. Here's my story. My wife and I have been together for nearly 8 years, married nearly 2. We have one son together, he's 5. Last September, we drifted apart, had been happening for a while obviously. We were fighting more and stressed out. We were trying to make things work, until I went for coffee with a female coworker. My W worked in the same building as me, different company though. And I saw her on my way back from a break. She asked me where I was coming from, and I told her I went for coffee with this coworker. To me, it wasn't a big deal, so I told her. But that hurt her bad, due to the fact that we were in rough times, and the coworker was attractive. We had a falling out, and she decided that was the final straw. She gave me the "I love you, but I am not in love with you," and said it would be best if she moved to her parents' place and did. We were both unhappy at that point, and so the decision was pretty mutual as we were both frustrated. For the next 2 months, I kept things off my mind by going out and socializing a lot. But my W and I were still hanging out and sleeping together. It's like we were split, but not really split. We even had a chat one day about getting back together. But it didn't materialize. After a couple months, that stopped. She decided she just kept getting hurt and closed off for good. We stopped hanging out, we stopped being intimate, and she was done for good. Our discussions moved to custody and selling the house. She was done. This opened my eyes. I was hurt. The pain finally hit for real. I was crushed. I was doing the pleading and begging. Of course, it didn't work. By January, 3 months since she moved, I had read the books, had my moment of reflection, and really started working on myself and stopped the pleading, even though she was still wanting to sell the house and get a place of her own. I held on to hope. We went to a counseling session, but W was checked out and didn't want to be there. But by the end of January, something changed. We went out together once or twice and had a great time just as friends. And a week later, we found our way back. By February, 4 months later, we fell back in love, and she moved back a short while later. I was ecstatic. My son was in heaven. We were like a new couple again. It felt amazing. Fast forward 5 more months, and it's over again. Things were great for a while, and I implemented changes. But then we did something stupid and started a business about a month after being back together that added some stress to our lives and took time away from each other. She dropped another bomb after a couple fights we had and said she was done for good. Divorce? No way she was changing her mind. The same cycle. I begged and pleaded, tried to talk her out of it, and eventually realized that wasn't going to work. This time I moved out to a friend's house. Talking to her about working things out only pushed her further away. She was very sure that she is done for good. I've been moved out since August 1. So at first, I was still wanting to talk to her about making things work. I had booked a counseling appointment after our last fight before we officially called it quits. But she did not want to go. She had no desire to continue to live unhappy and figured if nothing has changed in 8 years, why would it? Fair point. The thing is, we were so happy for a while, but little things built up again and we didn't focus on each other to make sure each other were priorities over the last few months. I pulled back a bit. Decided to stop talking. She invited my son and I down for lunch one day on her work break. Positive step. We went and hung out and things were nice. I decided I was going to be me, the real me, and be the confident, driven guy I am. I told her I was going to take her for a drink one night. She agreed to it. I found sitter and agreed on the next night. When I showed up at the house to pick her up, she suddenly changed her mind. She said there was no way she could let me spend money on her. She doesn't have the same intentions as me, doesn't ever want to get back together. Doesn't want to give me false hope. I played it cool and just said I had no expectations for that night, that I just wanted to go hang out and enjoy each other as friends and just have fun instead of talking. She eventually agreed. We had a great night. We went for supper and drinks and told each other things we'd never told each other before. True friend talk. Then we went to a casino and played some slots and talked for another 4 to 5 hours. We were more focused on each other and chatting than anything. It was fantastic. As I drove her home, I thanked her for coming because I had a lot of fun with her. She agreed and thanked as well. She said that night was the first time she's really had any regrets about us splitting because it felt good. I dropped her off. We hugged. She said I smelled good. I took that as her maybe wanting to go further. Be your mind. But she didn't, so I thanked her and left. The next morning when I dropped our son off, I told her we should go for a drive one night. She kind of looked frustrated by the offer, as in me being too pushy or expecting everything to just be cool now. So I just dropped it and said bye and went to work. I've read that there can be a backlash after a positive moment as they throw their guard back up. I decided I would not really call or text her for the next few days and see how she reacted. She did text me a few times about different things. I responded when she did but didn't really initiate anything. A couple days ago, while we were both at work, I went and grabbed coffees and dropped one off for her at work and didn't say a word. She was busy with customers. She texted me later and said thank you, and then called later that night to talk about her getting a shift the next day. So where to pick up son? When I dropped him off the next morning, I had a day shift. She worked later at 3. I said to her, if you get to work a little early, would you like to have coffee before you start? She said sure, and then changed it up and said how about meet for lunch? So, we did. Again, it was good. Then when she came back for her shift, she texted me to meet for coffee before her shift too, and then called me at work during her shift. So, I felt this was a very positive day. Last night I called her just to see how the rest of her shift went and say goodnight. Today she texted me early this morning as I was getting to work. She's working days too today. We texted a little bit and she mentioned wanting a coffee but was going to wait for her break. I went down to the coffee shop and grabbed a couple coffees and dropped one off at her work again. She was busy again. She texted me later when it was time for her actual break and we went on break together again. I asked about hanging out again like we did last week, but she wants to spend time with our son tonight, which I expected as this is his first day back with her in 4 days. I asked about tomorrow instead and she said yes, assuming we can get a babysitter. So she said she would talk to her mom tonight. The one part that stung a little is she mentioned during break that she was really appreciating me being her friend. She said this before agreeing about tomorrow night. But this is obviously 10x better than things were 2 weeks ago, and considering how we hit it off last week when we went out, I'm hoping for similar results tomorrow night. If it happens. Any advice? I think these are positive changes for sure. I'm trying to not get too high or low, and understand that it may take time, and she's not ready right now to jump back in, but the fact that she is initiating coffee breaks and things is very positive. And the fact that she is open to hanging out one-on-one is very positive as well. I love her so much and hate that we had a second chance with each other and let it get away from us. We didn't get counseling when we got back and decided to do this business that didn't help. We did book a trip to Vegas 2 months ago and had a great time together and had a camping trip that she missed because she changed jobs. Things were going well, but we were getting too busy for us again and it caused a lot of frustration and stress between us and led to short tempers and no communication. So even though things improved from the last time, I know now, if a miracle happens and we get a third chance, there will be a gigantic, concerted effort to not lose focus and get too busy with life to appreciate each other more. I should add too that the last stretch before our recent breakup, she was getting very jealous, but she never presented it as her wanting more attention. It came out in an accusatory way and it was frustrating me that she wasn't trusting me and kept accusing. She was never really the jealous type. I wasn't seeing this as a call for attention. I was seeing it as her being unfair for no reason. So, we weren't communicating very well. By the time I figured it out, it was too late. She said she was feeling like I would look at other girls or talk to other girls, which she admitted shouldn't make her feel jealous. But because she didn't feel she was getting my attention herself, that it hurt her and made her pull away. In my defense, I don't have any female friends. I'm not a ladies' man, but I do work with female coworkers. And my W and I play on a ball team together with some of those coworkers. Anyway, just some added context to this. She was feeling neglected in the relationship. To give an update, we didn't end up hanging out last night. She had a birthday party to go to for a coworker. She said she'd text me when she figured out what was going on with that. They were going for supper. And maybe we'd get together. She did text me to tell me the girls were all going out so she was going to go out with them for a bit. I simply said, sounds good, have a blast, call if you need a ride later. I dropped off our son this morning. She said she had fun last night, got home late. We do hug when we leave each other but it's always initiated by me. Today I didn't just to see if she would. She didn't, but she did walk by and pat my chest. Not sure if there is anything to read from that or not. I've told her to keep Thursday open because I was going to plan some things to hang out. She's agreed to keep that open. There hasn't really been any relationship talk in the last couple weeks. There hasn't been any talk about an official separation agreement or divorce in that time either though. So, I'm not sure what to think. I want to go out with her again like we did last Saturday because we both agreed it was a great time. But I don't want to come across like I'm constantly trying to plan things for us. And it's going to start feeling that way soon. I'm caught between continuing this pursuit while showing happiness and fun or going no contact and talking about moving things along towards closure, dividing assets. Agreements. Any thoughts? Should I just keep up what I am doing and see how she responds? Is it too early to push towards the D? I know you're right. The thing is, had I not initiated our outing last Saturday, it wouldn't have happened. But it did, and it was great. And she even said that she felt regret for the first time since we split because of that night. So, it's tough to not want to let that happen again and see if it can slowly let us come together. The last time we split, that's how we found each other again. We went out and did things as friends and realized there was still something there. And when she had to go to the hospital for a night, I was there for her the whole time. She saw that, and I think that is what brought us back together. Man, this is tough. I regret losing sight of what mattered most to me. Again, I had a weak moment yesterday. I called her and told her I was sorry for how things ended, and for hurting her. She told me not to dwell on it. But it's hard not to. There's a guy in her group of friends who really likes her, and I'm nervous that might spur something. She said we could talk tomorrow, which is today, and she would tell me exactly how she's feeling right now. A few days ago, she texted me she had an X-ray appointment because of a baseball to the leg that she took a week ago in our slow pitch game. I asked if it was at this certain place that she's gone before, and she told me not, it was at this other one. Just simple chatting. I said I didn't realize there was one there. Then she texted me the actual address of the place and the time she was going. It almost seemed as though she wanted me to be there. As lame as it sounds, I did decide to meet her there, but didn't tell her for sure that I was going to go. About 20 minutes before the appointment this morning, out of nowhere, she texted me saying, "Yes, it's in that building." Again, not sure why she would suddenly text that unless she was sort of hoping I'd be there. She seemed genuinely happy that I was there with her. We had a quick coffee and breakfast before we went to work. She actually asked me today if I wanted to come by her parents' house this weekend because they're having a BBQ. She asked if I wanted to check with another relative to watch our son so I could come for a bit. She had talked about this BBQ before and simply asked if I could watch our son that day so she could go. But she's never before suggested I should go. Today she asked, "So, do I go? Not sure what's going on tonight." As mentioned, yesterday she said we could have supper tonight and talk. Today she mentioned she wasn't sure what to make for supper. But I didn't ask or push anything. I'm going to wait and see if she suggests I come for supper. If she doesn't, I won't. The time we do spend together is still really good. We are friendly, and smiles, and talk. I also talk to our stepsister-in-law. Not that my wife talks to her about anything at all, but she's a very pro-love type person, so I felt it would be good to talk to her versus other people who tend to throw other fish in the sea comments. She told me not to give up. She said she can tell that my W and I have true love, and she really believes we will be together again, but said it could be a little or a lot of time. Her advice was awesome, in that we need to just take some time to heal the hole in our hearts and make sure that the changes we plan to make are permanent and possible. She advised I write down all the things I love about my W and write down the things that went wrong and answer those things with what changes would work. But real changes, not temporary things. She suggested that when I talk to my W today, that I speak from my heart and tell her exactly how I feel and show her my list. She admitted she may not seem to take it well now, but that she will remember it when she's ready. She said she isn't a mind reason and will only know what's in my heart if I tell her. She's convinced that my W is also feeling a lot of pain and that she does truly love me. But that things are just so fresh. She understands that I'm going to worry about this guy, but said chances are nothing serious is happening and that the attention is just helping my W to keep her mind off things right now. I should also mention, when we first split, she quit our ball team too. But she's come to the last couple games. That's over now, but there is a tournament this weekend and she really wants to come play, in spite of her leg and doctor's advice not to. So, she's clearly not making an effort to avoid me by any means. When we split the first time last October, there were a few things that she gave as reasons, but it all boiled down to just not feeling like our relationship was loving. She pointed out not helping around the house enough, not getting up in the morning to help with child, not showing each other enough affection, fighting too frequently, me being zoned out on technology all the time, reading on iPad, computer, not accepting her for who she is and being judgmental. Yes, I felt most of these were valid. I had my epiphany last time and really worked on myself. I became a much better father, not that I was a bad one, but I am much more involved. I helped out more. I showed her more love and affection. However, as mentioned earlier, we got busy again and started a business which took focus off of us. Suddenly neither of us had time for the house. Stress of the business frustrated us. We eventually started to slip back a bit. But this most recent breakup, she was feeling neglected. We would fight about things and be disrespectful in fights. Her biggest issue is that she didn't feel I loved her again. She got really jealous this last little while and thought I paid more attention to other females I knew than her. I became frustrated with this stuff and did pull away a bit. We just had a trip together 2 months ago now that we had fun on, and a camping trip a couple weeks later that she ended up having to miss because she just got a new job. But during that time, she texted me that she missed me so much and wanted me home, etc. I missed her too. But she did get upset that I didn't call her much while we were away. We texted but didn't talk much. She felt I was too judgmental, actually that we both were. And she was right. I don't like that she smokes, and I used to get on her about that a lot in the past, and even though I don't anymore. She always assumes I'm upset about that when I'm not. Anytime each of us was upset, we would automatically think it was because the other person was the cause of it. We didn't open up and talk to each other about issues. We'd bottle them and then have obnoxious fights and say hurtful things. When we got back together, she said she loved the new me. I wasn't angry and frustrated all the time anymore. I was more understanding and calm. I had fallen back into being frustrated, as did she. Trying not to write a book. I hope that answers the question. Bottom line, not enough love and making each other feel special. She felt neglected with everything else going on. And yes, she has legitimate reasons. I agree with her assessment but would love to try and make it work. And I think it could, no doubt in my mind. But she feels like we've been together 8 years. Why would anything change now? We got back together, and things slipped again, so why would this time be any different? Well, for one, I made improvements last time, but I made one big mistake again. I got myself focused on something else again. I've done this since I was 20, 31 now. I'm constantly chasing an entrepreneurial dream. I always throw myself into other things outside of my day job. I knew this caused problems before, and I wasn't going to do it this last time. But he brought up wanting to start this business, and of course, I jumped on the idea. I thought finally, she wants to as well. Let's do it. So, we started this business together, but it was a mistake. We weren't strong enough again yet to handle it. We should have spent the summer focusing on us and family, and instead, we spent it worrying about this business and being very busy. So, we lost our focus on repairing our relationship, and ended up back here. My childhood was good. My parents divorced when I was 17, which was my last year of high school before I moved out. So, it didn't affect me too much as far as day-to-day was concerned. I did resent my mother for a long time after for leaving. But my childhood was good. Hers was a little different. Her dad left when she was young and basically moved across the country and started a new life. She was raised by her mom and stepdad. Her mom still hasn't forgiven her dad for leaving 25 years later and takes shots at him when possible. And neither has she. She says her dad is her stepdad, and her biological dad is simply a donor. She has a relationship with him, but he's on eggshells. She turns on him pretty easily again if he slips up. In fact, right now, she is on non-speaking terms with both her brother and her bio dad. Her brother because he tore into her about breaking up again and acting single and not being a mother. Told her to get her crap together basically. He was definitely a bit over the top and isn't the most sensible guy with words at all. But she hates him for that now and says she won't ever talk to him again. Which is sad because him and his wife were basically our best friends. We hung out all the time. Her dad has been living down here with her brother for work because there's little work back home for him. He goes home every couple weeks to see his wife and other daughter. He just came back down the other day and texted me that we needed to chat about the business. Her dad and brother were involved too. So I met him the next night. She was very angry with him that he didn't let her know he was back. He had only been back for 2 days. And that he would text me but not her. So, she's not talking to him right now either. I'm far from perfect too. I know I've contributed to our unsuccessful relationship and I can let little things bother me too much as well. And I know this about myself and want to get better in that respect. Also, she's never really held a grudge against her brother. He says a ton of ignorant crap to her jokingly, brotherly love, that she always gets over and it doesn't affect their relationship long term. But this time he went overboard and was serious. Said some mean stuff to her and told her to lose his number until she grew up. He was very abrasive about it. But she is not the type of person that is going to listen to criticisms in the first place. She's very touchy that way. When we got back together late time, that was the plan. But then things were going to well, I didn't want to relive the old issues. I regret that decision. She suggested once earlier on too that we should go see a counselor and didn't. The night of our last big fight, I booked an appointment for us. I gave it a few days before telling her. But when I finally did, she said she was done, wasn't interested in counseling. So, I canceled the appointment. I've since booked it again just for myself. In other news, haven't talked to her since this morning. I haven't contacted her. She hasn't contacted me either. So, I'm guessing supper is a no-go. I came home and was getting ready for football, and wasn't planning on going for supper. But then last minute figured I better just check to see if she's expecting me so I don't leave her hanging. So, I just called really quick and said, "Are you expecting me for supper?" She said, "I thought so, yes. Why you are not coming?" I said, "Well, I just wasn't sure if there was an invite for sure." "If there is, sure." She said, "Yes, you are invited." I said, "Okay, see you shortly. I'm just getting some stuff together for tonight. Can't stay long." So, I went for supper quickly with her and our son. We were happy and friendly. I didn't bring anything up. She asked when I'd be done football, and to call and come back later to chat when our son was asleep. I said, "Why? What are we chatting about?" She said she told me she was going to tell me how she was feeling. I said, "Okay, call you when I'm done." I went and played football, had a good time. Made plans to go for drinks with the boys later after our quick chat. called her and asked if she still wanted to chat, because I was going to go with the boys at some point. She said sure, but you can go if you want. So, I stopped by for a little bit. We sat in the backyard and had a couple drinks. Didn't end up talking about relationship or feelings at all. Just chatted, things were friendly, and just some good conversations. She mentioned maybe we could go golfing together Friday morning before the ball tournament, and also suggested maybe going for a drink Thursday after she gets off work. When I left to go meet the boys, I said if you want to go golfing, just set up a tea time and let me know. Left, didn't initiate a hug or anything, just thanked for the chat and drinks and left. So overall a pretty positive night, I think. Not going to contact her at all tomorrow. My son is back with me tomorrow, so that always makes it a little easier. My son at one point says, "You guys don't like each other. Why are you hanging out?" She said, "It's not that we don't like each other, bud, but it's complicated, you won't understand." Anyway, left with a happy goodbye and she told me to have a good day. A few minutes later I get a text saying, "You took my rings." I don't think she was looking for them specifically, but I think she probably went to her jewelry box and just noticed now that they aren't in there. 3 to 4 weeks ago when I was still living there, I was cleaning the house and went to put on of her non-marriage rings away and noticed her engagement ring and wedding band in her jewelry box. I took them out and put them somewhere else. 1, with the hope I could put them on her finger again someday, and 2, I wasn't comfortable with rings that value sitting in such an obvious place. Anyway, now she's pissed off about this, so had a chat with her. I asked her to tell me how she was feeling and why the ring issue bothered her. She said because she just went to her jewelry box to look for something else, and they were just gone. Last time we split, I took the rings in a fight after we had split and told her it was because I gave those rings to my wife, and if she was choosing to not be my wife anymore, then she didn't deserve to keep them, and that I was still paying for them, debt, so if they were going to get sold, it was going to be by me to pay them off. I had no intention of selling them. I always hoped for the day I'd get to put them back on her finger. I kept them for the whole 4-month separation and gave them back to her about 2 weeks after we got back together. She said this morning she thought it was the same thing as last time, that I took them for the same reasons again. I asked her why they are so important to her now. She said because they were very important to her at one time. She was very upset this morning because of that and her brother. She was shaking when I first saw her. I was able to calm her down and went for a quick breakfast together. I feel like today was a giant step backwards, after what started to appear as a giant step forward. She was still talking about things in the future by herself. It doesn't sound like she's thinking of us even a little bit. So maybe all these recent invites and gestures are nothing more than her feeling guilty. I was hoping it was meaning so much more. Instead of golfing Friday morning now, she says she has to finish building her parents' deck. We build a pool deck for them, and there are a few cosmetic things left to do. They are having this BBQ on Saturday and want the deck finished. I told her I would come help. I feel obligated because it was me who started and built the deck, so I should probably help finish it. Today just feels crappy now because we have shown zero anger towards each other for a couple weeks now, and today changed that. Now she just texted me and said, "What did you say about me on Facebook?" I didn't say a single thing on Facebook. The only thing I have posted in weeks was about a high school classmate who recently passed away. While this has taken an odd turn today, definitely looks like she's looking to me to place her anger again. I have been doing good not initiating contact and don't have the desire to right now at all. The problem is, she has contacted, texts, me a few times today. So, we've still talked pretty much every day. And no, I won't be giving her anything to let her know how I feel. I know any of that kind of talk is the enemy right now and just hurts my case. I am letting go and not pursuing her anymore for at least this week to see how it goes. But like I said, she invited me for supper Monday, coffee in the morning on Tuesday, potential drink Thursday evening, golf Friday morning, already playing ball together Friday afternoon, and parents BBQ on Saturday. She's made all these invites casually, and isn't insisting I go, but still odd considering a week and a half ago she was saying we shouldn't be hanging out because she doesn't want to get back together. Anyway, she is off work before me today, so I suspect when I go to pick up our son from her parents' place, she will likely be there. Good chance they invite me to stay for supper. I think I'm going to politely decline. So, went for coffee. She asked if we should go down to the bank to get her name off the business account. It hurt a little inside, but I didn't show it. Instead, I said, well, first we should probably get the bills in your name and the mortgage switched to your account. Those are likely higher priority. I was gauging to see how she would react to me suggesting that. She said okay, she'll need paper bills forwarded to her then. I said okay, paused, and then with a smile said, you sure mean business today, huh? She responded, it was you who brought up all the other stuff. I was just talking about the business. It was all said with smiles and bugging each other, then just had a friendly chat after. Is she testing me right now? One day she invites me to things, next she deposits my check for me, but then wants to talk about getting her name off of the biz account, which really doesn't matter at this point. Is she fishing for me to be like, no, please don't take these steps. I'm just going along with it. She works at the same place as me, which is a telecom that our phone, TV and internet service is through. She just called me right now saying she was looking at our bill and was contemplating making some changes to make it cheaper. I kept my cool and told her to do whatever she wants. It's her service now, even though my name is on it. She said she was bored, so was bugging me. I said I'm sure we could go find a place to have some fun. She laughed and I ended the call saying, okay, well, I'm going to let you go now. Call me later if you need to. I hate dealing with these things like the bills because it just seems like another step towards the end. But I think I handled it fine. I kept my cool. At any point, if we keep moving down this path, is it okay for me to stop and say I'm not okay with doing this? I'm not okay heading for divorce. I want to fight for us. Also, she asked if I had seen a certain movie, sequel to others that we watched together. I said no, hadn't seen it yet. She said she watched it with her cousin and it wasn't as scary as she had heard, but said she should probably watch it again. For a split second, I was almost expecting her to suggest we watch it together. I said I'd have to check it out and left it at that. She just texted me I'm starving. Last week I would have run and grabbed her something to eat and dropped it off. This week I texted back and said, me too. I think I'm starting to improve. Before our son was born, I ran a football league and ran a large website that consumed my spare time. When he was born, I didn't stop doing either of those, or instead actually went back to finish my degree while working full-time as well. I was blind to it at the time, but she resented me for this. I wasn't there. She was a single mom. Her life changed, and mine didn't. I kept working, going to school, football, etc. After I stopped running the football league and sold the website, I needed another hobby, business, so I started a web, graphic design business. This resulted in me being up late at night, not going to bed with her. If I had a project on the go, I obsessed over it and neglected everything else. When we split last time and got back together, I said to myself, all right, that's it. Spare time is family time, no more chasing these business dreams. But then a month in, she brought up the idea that we should start this business together, and I didn't have the mental capacity to think bad idea. Instead, I thought, hey, she's finally on board. Let's do this. Right away I got to work making the website, getting licenses, etc. We started working. Suddenly our son was basically at her mom's place all the time because we had to work on the weekends. During the weekend evenings, I was doing estimates and paperwork. We worked well together on projects but had different styles on the paperwork. It did bring stress to our relationship. It took lots of time away from us. I look back now and hate the fact that I jumped on it so bad when she suggested it. So, for now, I am still working on it a bit only because I have my own spare time, and the money may come in useful. But should we reconcile, I will be stepping away from this business and focusing on us. I hope I get that chance. I think I've gotten past the point of wanting to initiate contact now. I have no desire to unless there is something that needs to be talked about. And even then, I am sort of not looking forward to it. I've officially got myself convinced that anything that happens between us needs to be initiated by her. It makes me feel better for one, and two, if she doesn't want to do something, then I don't want to do it with her. So there is no point in me trying to get her to do things. I am actually itching to turn down one of her invites, but not if they are few and far between. She mentioned today that she will see me tonight because she gets off work before I do. So she was going to go see our son, or pick him up and take him home. So I would see her when I go to pick him up. Again, if there is an offer to stay for supper, I think I will decline. Or should I not be declining invites at this point? You said to accept invites, but decline demands, expectations. At some point, do you have to let her know how you feel? Not begging or whining. But if you continue to do what we are doing right now, which is invites for coffee or a drink here or there, does there comes a point when you need to tell her or show her that you still want to make this work? Or ask her to try MC now? I'm not talking about doing this now at all, but I'm just curious. My stepsister-in-law keeps giving me the opposite advice of what I'm getting here. I think the advice here is the correct advice, so I'm following it. Her advice is to tell her exactly how I feel and make her feel special and loved. But the other night we had a date to talk about how she was honestly feeling, and vice versa. I went, but instead we just sat around the fire, had a couple drinks, and just had a great conversation with each other. She mentioned we should trim the one dog's hair because I was there. He gets matted up easy and we used to team up to cut his hair. Then said, nah, it's dark, next time you're here. But we never had the feelings conversation. She never brought it up, and I was too scared to ask. She's mentioned the changes when we went out that first Saturday. But she's seen this before. That's what makes this time so much more difficult. Last time we separated, she told me she was so jealous of who I'd become. In other words, I was me again, the guy I wanted to be, not the guy burdened with frustrations and mad at the world. When we went out that Saturday a few weeks ago, she commented that I'm so different and happier, but she takes it as kind of proof that we don't bring out the best in each other. Anyway, trying to stay the course. We'll give update in next post. Last night she texted me about Friday to find out what was going on with the ball tourney and when to work on the parents' deck. I said I could go over first thing in the morning and work on it. I asked if she still wanted to sneak 9 holes of golf in and she said we can try. This morning she asked if she could borrow the truck, asked a few days ago if she could borrow it today, because she's helping her parents clean up the yard for the BBQ. So, she has my truck, and I have her car at work today. She said there was enough gas to get me to work, as it was almost on E. I didn't tell her. But I stopped at a gas station and filled up her car for her. Maybe a mistake, but I just felt like doing something nice for her. Plus, it costs a third of what my truck costs to fill. Anyway, she hasn't brought up going for a drink tonight since Monday night. So, I'm thinking it's not going to happen. And while she has talked about the BBQ, she hasn't asked since Monday if I am coming or not. Mornings are always tough. To be honest, I'm feeling a little weird about her being the one to initiate contact all the time. At what point do you stop not initiating contact if she has started? If she is contacting me, maybe she is reaching out. But if I don't reciprocate, is she going to give up and turn the tables back on me? She seems willing to hang out and do things now, so it feels weird that I should not take advantage of that. I didn't stick around long at the house this morning, just dropped off our son, chatted for 30 seconds, swapped vehicles and left. I hate not being able to read if she is being friendly out of guilt, friendly because she really has moved completely on and just wants to be friends, or friendly because she's unsure in her mind what to do and is trying to slowly rebuild things. The being friendly and nice, and chatting and hanging out, but not being able to touch or hold each other is frustrating. When I decided to stop pursuing, I was looking for small positive signs, and I got them. She started pursuing a little bit. I recognized those signs and was happy for them. But it seems the last few days have been stagnant, not progressing at all. When I grabbed my clothes and left that night, she wasn't home. I told her I was doing it. But in the middle of the night, I get some texts and she is angry I just left and with our son. She was shocked. She didn't think I was actually going to leave that night. I just kind of left and didn't look back. Haven't talked to her about coming back, or anything. Should I maybe at some point say I'm moving back home? This is my house as well. I'm not the one who wanted to end this. It's your choice to leave or work on it. And the second thing is, as I mentioned, I stopped initiating contact since the weekend. But we've still seen each other or texted every single day since then. Do I need to cut her off completely? I don't want to do this, because I don't want to damage anything that may be building. But at the same time, what if she is doing the whole cake eating thing? I am still there when she calls, when she needs to borrow the truck, when she invites me for coffee, etc. I don't want to be a jerk about it, but she likely hasn't really missed me at all. But I'm worried if I did this, she would just write us off for good and carry on. So, while we were still living together, but the bomb had dropped and we were done, I went out to a friend's place for a bit one night. And she went out with some cousins and friends late. I went home to bed. She rolled in at 7 a.m. after falling asleep at her cousin's place. We had a bit of a text fight that night due to some things that happened with me and a female friend during our last separation. Anyway, that morning, she went back to bed. I was sleeping on the couch. I gave it about 20 minutes, and I went in the room and kissed her on the forehead. She woke up and looked at me and reached for a hug and a kiss. I was shocked. I just started in her eyes, and she stared back. I said, "Are you awake?" She said yes. I kissed her again and asked if I could come lay down and cuddle her, and she said yes. I was like, what? Is this really happening? I crawled in and cuddled with her. I couldn't sleep, too worried that she was not really awake, but just sleep talking or something. So, I got up a while later and did the same thing later. Gave her a kiss. Asked her if she wanted breakfast. She said no, but again kissed and hugged. I went back a third time, this is over 3 to 4 hours, and asked if she wanted to go to our favorite place for brunch, and she said, yeah, we could do that. So, I felt as though I had tested 3 times and made sure she wasn't just sleep talking. When she got up, she was on the computer playing a game. I came up behind her and put my arms around her and gave her a hug and kiss on the head. She pauses and says, I can't do this. You can't do what? I can't be all touchy. I'm done. We're done. I was floored and crushed all over again. She said she wasn't really awake earlier and didn't know what she was doing. Man, oh man, went from being hurt in the morning, to so happy late morning, to crushed again by noon. She brought my truck to work and we met for coffee when she got here. There was some confusion over who was to have our son tonight. She works until 9 p.m. And confusion over where the vehicles are parked. Long story. Anyway, I did bring up the drinks tonight because we were trying to figure out how to swap vehicles. I parked hers in a place she doesn't like late at night. We always park there during the day. And she parked mine in a place she knows some trick that I don't. We were having trouble figuring out what to do, so I just asked, "Are you still wanting to have a drink tonight? Because if so, I'll just take your car now so it's not left there. And meet tonight after work at the casino, where she parked my truck. So, sounds like we might do the drink tonight." Yes, I know I brought it up again. She also told me today that she ran into a guy on Saturday at the bar whom she had a tiny thing with the last time we separated. She says made out only, when we got back together. She pointed him out to me one time without me asking and was pretty open about it, so I believe her. Anyway, she said he said they should hang out again, and she said sure. But only as friends. Since then, he hasn't contacted her, but her cousin went and Facebooked the guy and said, "Hey, you should call my W this weekend to hang out." She was telling me this because she said her cousin threw her under the bus, and I asked how. Why would she tell me this? To make me jealous. I need to cut her out of my life. I'm hinging and waiting on every word, waiting and hoping for every invite, offering and giving to every request. When the invites are plentiful, like Monday, I feel great. But when things are slower, I get antsy. She just texted me again. This is my issue. I can't go NC because she's still texting me multiple times a day for random things. Some things because she needs something, answer. Others just conversation-like. I worry that if I tell her to stop contacting me, that she will. And if she's not contacting me, and I'm not contacting her, then how the hell will we ever develop something again? We got back together last time after I initiated a couple dates which we went and had a good time on. Also, I feel like I am willing to do this now and cut contact as much as possible. Do I just do this suddenly out of thin air with no explanation, or do I talk to her first and tell her that I don't think her actions right now are acceptable, and that she is still my wife until otherwise legally dissolved? I am moving on with my life, and I hope she finds herself in this time. I am frustrated now with her friends owning her husband while she dances around with other guys and sees no harm in hanging out now with a guy who she had a small fling with during our last separation. It shows she has very little, if any, respect for me, and I'm a little pissed off about it. Anyway, so we went for a drink last night, and ended up hanging out for 5 hours at the casino. We were having a really good time together again. Somehow, we go on to the topic that she still doesn't trust me about things that happened when we split 9 months ago because of something that happened 7 years ago. 7 years ago, we hadn't been dating quite a year yet. I was 24. Went to a work party which resulted in a ton of booze and hot tubs. My intent was not to get too drunk, but mix booze and sitting in a hot tub, and I ended up super drunk. A girl who was a friend of a coworker liked me and we kissed that night. She was the initiator, and I stopped the kissing. But it happened a couple times. This was in the hot tub in front of everyone. I eventually got out of the tub and went in the house because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I started kind of bad-mouthing this girl to some guys in the house, and she was standing right behind me. I apologized to her and leave. I felt very guilty about what happened. The next morning, I told my then girlfriend, that a girl had kissed me the night before. I downplayed it to not hurt her, but I had to tell her. As time went on, she heard from people that it was a big more than a girl just kissing me and me stopping it. I told her with more detail, but to this day she doesn't trust me because of that incident. So now she doesn't trust me about the girl I went for coffee with when we split last time, 10 months ago. I've never cheated on her since the hot tub kissing, but she can't get past that. I told her that I wasn't interested in anyone else while we were together, and that even though she doesn't believe me, I did and do love her deeply, and she is the only one I want or wanted to be with. She started crying, so we both agreed to curb the conversation and just get back to having fun and playing games. At one point, we went out for a peck, and who shows up out there but this guy she's been hanging around with and who likes her? I've never seen him, so I didn't know anything, but she told me and pointed him out to me. She wanted to go inside, saying it would be awkward. She eventually admitted that they did kiss one time because she wanted to see if she felt anything, but says she felt nothing at all for him, and has told him she does not want to date. I thanked her for being honest. She could have not pointed him out and not told me anything. So, we went back and played games and had an awesome time again. Throughout the night, she initiated many high fives if we'd win or something. It felt really good. When we finally decided to leave, we got talking about us again outside. She said she notices who I am right now and loves it, but it's not who I am in the relationship. That I don't hassle her about anything right now, but I judge her too much when we are in a relationship. She also said she didn't want to go on trips. She just wanted to be happy at home because we could afford the trips when we had debts that needed to be paid off. She completely doesn't see that my point in booking the Vegas trip was for her and us to spend some time together. She brought up me spending money on tools again, saying it was a waste when she is being stressed out by debts. I always hated that she would call out the tools thing, Because for one, it maybe averaged less than a 1,000 per year, and I bought tools to work on things around the house. And we then had the tools to start the business. Meanwhile, she would spend $200 a month on packs, and likely $300 a month on going out. I didn't understand how she could hold that over me when she was spending way more on way fewer worthy things. Anyway, we had a long chat with lots of tears. I kept calm. She was angry about things not working out the way they were supposed to. She wanted to talk later when we hadn't been drinking and agreed to talk more. I told her I had a counseling appointment next week and asked if she would consider coming. She didn't answer right away, and said we'll talk about it. We both went our separate ways. I texted her goodnight. She responded yup, and then texted me a few more times with anger about our relationship. I called her and said I just want to say goodnight and end the night on a good note. And that's where we are at. Now she just texted me. So, time to go work on this deck. My comment. This is a 2-part series. The ending will get better. So sub and bell, and I will upload the second part tomorrow morning as soon as possible.